What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's out there staying high speed and motivated and accomplishing their goals, whatever they may be. I'm out here in the woods behind the house trying to see what kind of trouble I can get into, really just exploring to see if I can find any trails that I didn't know about back here. Rucking with about 35, 40 pounds on my back. This is the ruck that I used for the fan dance last year, so it's still serving me well. Still fits really good. And I'm out here just crushing it so far. It's like 98 degrees, so it's hot as hell. But luckily I have a decent amount of shade, right? Decent amount of shade up there. And there's some like sporadic overcast that's doing me some justice as well. So we're feeling pretty good. Already found a trail, look at that. Let's go this way. But yeah, so anyway, the reason for this video today, guys, is I wanted to expound a little bit on a question that I asked in the community about a week ago on whether or not you thought rucking was a healthy activity, and to explain your reasoning why or why not. Real quick, let me pull up the results of that. So about 4,400 of you voted, 4.4K, and 81% said good, and 19% said bad. So that's pretty good numbers, I'd say, since I'm on the fence of ruck marching being a good activity for you. Honestly, I was expecting there to be a little bit more pushback. I was expecting a little bit more of you out there to say that you thought that rucking was not a healthy activity, but I'm very happy to see that the majority of you out there think that it's good for you, because I absolutely think rucking is good for you. And I think it's probably pretty obvious to you guys by now. Now, to sum up what the majority of you said when you were answering that it is a healthy activity, most of you answered you thought it was healthy because you think it's a great way to get out there and burn some extra calories, lean down, lose some weight. It's very low impact on you, on the joints, and, which I think is probably one of the biggest benefits, is that it just helps you get out there in places like this in the middle of nowhere to just clear your mind and just get a little bit more close and one with nature, right? It just makes you feel better by the time you're done. Rucking, for me, is the #1 activity that I enjoy. I wish I could just ruck all the time. Like, I would ruck every single day if it wasn't going to hurt me to do so. But I know that there is a limit. There is a point where you could absolutely overdo it and risk injury. And I think that a lot of you out there that answered that rucking is unhealthy for you, I think that's kind of where the problem is setting in. And it might not be your own fault. In fact, I think the majority of the answers out there that answered negatively to the question, it comes from a place where it isn't necessarily your fault that you feel that way, or the negative side effects that you experience personally or that your friends experienced were not a direct result of your own doing. So what do I mean by that? Well, the majority of the answers that were negative, I would say, was a roll-up of people that either served in the military, majority I would say specifically a combat MOS, or they had friends that they know who served in the military that now have sustained injuries that are directly correlated with ruck marching, or injuries that they suspect are correlated to ruck marching. Either way, these people now suffer and live with life-altering injuries that they think were caused by rucking. And these types of injuries, you know, they could be lower back spinal injuries, slip discs, pinched nerves, problems with the knees, problems with the ankles or the feet. Basically anywhere from about the mid-torso down, you know, they got problems and they think it's because of ruck marching. And it could absolutely be because of ruck marching, honestly, unfortunately. However, I very much believe that those injuries, if properly mitigated, more than likely could have been avoided. And again, I'm not directly blaming anybody out there for their own lack of mitigations. If you were somebody who negatively answered, I think more than likely, if you were serving in the military and you have injuries that are attributed to ruck marching, it's probably due to bad leadership and overuse and over pushing of soldiers within their leadership, right? And not just soldiers, but like Marines and airmen and all that stuff. You know, I just like to say soldiers because I'm in the Army, I'm a soldier, and you know, soldiers is where it's at, right? So what sort of things could have been mitigated? What are the things that you need to make sure that you are mitigating to make sure that you're out there having yourself a healthy rucking experience? One like I'm having now, where I am finding some sort of adventure out here. Oh, okay, well, I found some railroad tracks. All right, walking along the railroad tracks for a little bit, which is nice and clear. I would say the only negative is that I'm right in the open with the sun here. I'm sure my wife wouldn't be happy about that, but we'll get over it. We just won't tell her. She's always telling me I need to wear more sunscreen, and I definitely agree with her. I just always forget to do it. But anyway, so in the military, there are times when you are forced to carry more weight than you really should be carrying, go further than you really should be going, and do it with not enough rest. Less rest than which would be enough for you to be properly recovered. And all of you military out there that are watching this, especially you combat MOS, infantry types, know exactly what I'm talking about. And it is absolutely true. That happens 100% all the time. And it's very unfortunate. I wish it didn't happen that way, but it does. And honestly, that's just part of being in the military, man. You know, we're just hardware, all right? That's what you signed up for. But anyway, I digress. What I'm really trying to get at is when you're doing an activity like rucking, it's extremely important to make sure that you're not going too hard, too fast. You don't want to carry so much weight that it's just overbearing and putting curvatures into your spine, obviously, right? You don't want to go so much further than you've ever gone before that you're just breaking down your body, and you absolutely want to make sure that you give yourself enough recovery time before you go out there and get yourself in some more. Rucking is absolutely a healthy thing to do. You just have to be smart about it. And again, you just can't go too hard, too fast. It's something that you want to incrementally get better at. And you never want to go too heavy. A lot of people give me a lot of hard time for that. They say, oh man, why would you not want to train more than 35, 40 pounds when you know you're going to be carrying more at a place like Ranger School or Selection or something like that? That's because you want to limit the times that you do that. The majority of your training should not be carrying heavy weight because you're just breaking yourself down. You don't want to break yourself down and risk potential injury before you go to the place where you have to get through getting broken down and risking potential injury. Does that make sense? I'm pretty sure it does. You want to be as trained up as possible to be able to get through that breakdown period. And this is specifically, you know, talking about selections and Ranger School and stuff like that. And so that's my 2 cents on that portion. If you're recreationally rucking, if you're just out here trying to do it just to stay healthy, burn some extra calories, it's a good form of exercise, or just to get away from it all for a little bit, you don't need to be rucking super heavy, okay? Keep it light. Keep it at like a 25 to 40 pounds, okay? Really, you want to stick to about 20 to 25% of your body weight at any given time. That's like a good ideal number, and that really just depends on how far you're trying to move. And I know there's people out there that are thinking, wow, that's not a lot of weight, I could carry a lot more for a lot farther or whatever, and that's good for you, but that's not the common rule for the average person, okay? And that's not the way you're going to see the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to rucking. The Army Airborne standard, okay, this isn't the only military rucking standard that exists out there, but I think the Army Airborne standard is a pretty solid standard for the majority of people out there if they're trying to challenge themselves and get to a good baseline for where they should be if they want to be, you know, if they're performance oriented, right? And if you're not familiar with the standard is the completion of 12 miles in 3 hours or less, carrying 35 pounds dry. And what I mean when I say dry is that's the weight of your pack, not including the water or the food that you carry. So really you're carrying somewhere around 45 pounds if you're doing it right. I found a little trail out here, which is good because I am sweating, man. It's hot, it's hot. I gotta get back in the shade. So if you're still kind of new to rucking, or if you're just trying to get better, or you're just not really sure where you should be or where you shouldn't be, I think that's a solid baseline for the majority of people out there. And if you're somebody who is a little older, and when I mean older, like pushing senior citizen or already are a senior citizen, or if you're dealing with physical problems and issues already, but you're still trying to get out there and get after it any way you can. Maybe you can't run, but you can get out there and walk, and you just want to walk to the best ability as possible. Rucking is going to be great for you, but you just got to make sure to go easy, okay? Don't go too hard, too fast, like I said. The biggest things to always keep in mind when you're out there getting in your ruck training and when you're considering ruck training, use the appropriate weight. Again, 20 to 25% tops. Make sure you're staying hydrated and bring some nutrition with you. You burn around 150 calories per mile when you're out there rucking, okay? That's give or take. you need to be able to replace that as you're out there putting in the miles, okay? So bring some nutrition with you, make sure you stay hydrated. Proper footwear, and honestly, the footwear is what's really causing a lot of these structural injuries and issues that people talk about. Okay, you gotta have the right footwear if you're gonna be pounding your feet against the ground. I mean, this is what I use. I use Garmont NFSs. These are my favorite boots in the world. These are the only boots I ruck in, all right? Garmont NFSs. And you also wanna have good socks as well. I use the Fox River fatigue fighters. Awesome socks. All right, so you want to make sure you have good, comfortable footwear for you. And if you're somebody who has like flat feet or extra wide feet, make sure that you take that into consideration. Get boots that are wide. Okay, make sure you're using the right size. You don't want to go too big, too small. Socks should not be too thick or too thin. And if you need to use insoles for some extra support or just for some extra cushion, do it. All right, don't skimp on anything that has to do with your feet. You got to take care of your feet. Very important. Make sure you're using the correct bag, the correct loadout, okay? You don't want to go out there with some like Nike gym bag and just load it up with a bunch of weight and just have it dragging on your shoulders. That's gonna cause injury and discomfort for you, okay? You want to make sure you have the appropriate bag. And you want to make sure that the bag is set up correctly. It has to be formed to your body. The majority of the weight should be felt just below your shoulders, just above the small of your back, okay? That's kind of where you want to set the majority of your weight so that it's not pulling on your shoulders. And preferably you want to find something with a waistband and a chest band, okay? And you want to use those things because it's going to help you to distribute the weight appropriately in the way that it's meant to do with the bag that you're using, okay? That's why they have these things so that it distributes the weight appropriately. And I've already said don't go too hard too fast, but probably the most important thing to that aspect is if you're somebody who likes to trot when they ruck like I do, or run, okay, whatever you want to call it, jog, you really want to make sure that you're not jolting on your knees and on your back the whole time, okay? It really should be more of like a glide if you're going to do that. Even when you're walking, don't be stomping around, okay? Because yeah, that's putting a lot of pressure on your joints. It's putting a lot of pressure on your back. It's just doing nothing but bad to your body. It should be more of a glide. It's very similar to when you run, okay? You're not stomping around on the ground. It's very controlled, very smooth, like a glide. Focus on that, okay? And if you need to bring the weight down in order to make that happen and get better at it, then do so. Those are the biggest things to remember. It's unfortunate that the people out there that have sustained life-altering injuries from ruck marching, whether it was due to themselves or not, very unfortunate, because it could have absolutely been avoided. If it was a leadership issue, I absolutely feel for you. I get it. I still see that today. I see that it's a problem. It's getting better in the military. We're starting to, you know, holistically as a military community, figuring out that we shouldn't probably be breaking down our personnel as much as we do, because they're kind of useless if they break, right? But we still definitely deal with those issues. So I do feel for you, okay, long story short. However, I don't think that makes it okay for anyone to advocate against the activity itself, because it is still an absolutely great thing to do. And there's a lot of people that aren't able to lift, they're not able to run, they're not able to do a lot of activities that you know, most people would be able to do in order to stay healthy and fit. But rucking is still a solid way to get out there and get after it, even if you are somebody who's dealing with physical limitation issues. It's a full body exercise, it's low impact, it doesn't take a lot of equipment, obviously, and it just, you know, I'm a firm believer of it because it helps you out mentally and spiritually. Like, there's nothing better to me, again, than being out here and just enjoying your own personal time. I like to come out and ruck by myself, or you can go out and ruck with a community of ruckers. There's rucking clubs all over the place now, and get out there and be with the people that have common interests as you. Get out there and have a good, overall healthy time. You know what I'm talking about? It's a good time. I love rucking. You know what I really like from you guys is, if you're somebody who's watching this and you've had, you know, some life-altering positive experiences with rucking that you want to share with the community, please do that. Drop it in the comments. Let people know what this activity has done for you and how much of a benefit it has been. Because unfortunately, in a lot of different places, rucking has developed a bad reputation, and it's mainly due to those people who have experienced being overused, usually from military, and they just weren't treated right, or they were never really taught or didn't really understand how to go about it in the first place, and now they're dealing with injuries that, again, could have been mitigated. So please drop your positive experiences down there for everybody to see, because there is a lot to be gained from an activity like this, and I will always be an advocate for ruck marching, 100%. And now, since I haven't really been paying attention, I've really just been focusing on this video, I'm a little lost. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get my ass back home. So for now, stay safe out there, stay motivated, stay gritty. And besides that, I've got nothing else for you. I'll see you on the next one.